Hey guys, welcome to this week's video. I'm really blessed to be able to have my horse live at home with me. Splash is such a cutie. Whenever you go outside, he'll always come up to the fence and see what you're doing, so I always make sure to go and say hello to him each morning. Then I'll go into the tack room and turn off the electric fence so that when I go and catch Splash, I don't get electrocuted. Then I'll get my gear and put it close to where I'm going to tack up. Today I just put it on the stable block gate. And then I will grab Splash's halter and go out and catch him. Once I've caught him, I bring him into kind of like the wash bay area of the stable block, and I'll take off his rugs. The reason why he's wearing 2 rugs is because he's just been clipped and it's winter here in New Zealand, so 2 rugs keeps him nice and warm as the temperature gets colder. Then, I don't know about you, but I always put on some music to listen to while I tack up. Always puts me in a positive mindset. Then I'll get on to grooming him. I always start with my curry comb and body brush, and especially just using a soft bristled brush where he's been clipped. And then I'll use a plastic curry comb on his coat where it hasn't been clipped, and down his legs, because that really helps get out any mud and dust. I think people also call these a magic brush. Then once I've brushed both sides, I move on to doing his mane and his tail. This brush has firm bristles, which is really good for getting the knots out, and it's really good at detangling their manes and tails as well. When I'm brushing Splash's tail, I also make sure to hold an area above where I'm brushing so that I don't pull any hair out, because he has quite a thin tail compared to a lot of other horses and compared to how thick his mane is, and I do not want to be pulling out any hair. When I brush his tail, I also make sure I do it in sections. Then I'll move on to shaking out a saddle blanket and putting it on. I shake it out so that I make sure there's nothing in it that's going to pinch him or tickle him. And then I'll put his saddle on and align everything up and make sure it's sitting nicely on his back. Also, I don't think you qualify as an equestrian YouTuber if you don't have them in your saddle blanket. Please tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure every YouTuber has one. And then I will do up the straps from his half pad and the saddle blanket. Then I'll go on and attach his stud girth to the saddle. And then I will put his breastplate on, do it up to the D-rings on his saddle. You also want to make sure that your breastplate isn't too tight, because you don't want it to restrict the movement of their shoulders in any way, especially when they're jumping. Then I move on to checking his legs. I run my hands down them to check his tendons and his pasterns. This is a really crucial part of my tack up with me. You want to make sure that you're checking for any heat or swelling in their legs, and by comparing both legs at the same time, you really get a good indication of if one of them has any slight injury or not. Then also another crucial part of my tack up with me is oiling their hooves after I've picked them out, especially remembering to oil their heels. This really helps keep them nice and healthy and get moisture into them. Then I will put on his open front boots for jumping, because this particular day we went and jumped. And then obviously I'll do the same thing for all his other legs, including his back legs, just feeling down them to see if there's any swelling anywhere, which there wasn't. It's really important to oil their hooves as well, to help keep them healthy and to keep them nice and moist so they don't dry out and crack. And also when you're putting on your horse's boots, it's important to make sure that you don't put them down too low, because if you do, you can limit the amount of flexion they have with their legs. At this point in time, I normally do up the girther hole because the skin under the girth has had time to stretch out and sit where it normally sits. I also put my helmet on just before I put his bridle on. It means that once I have his bridle on, I can just get out and go over to the arena. I'll also put my gloves in my riding pocket because I hate doing up any piece of gear with gloves on because you can't really feel anything properly. The fun fact about Splash is he always yawns and he always smiles when you take his halter off just before you put his bridle on. I don't know why, it's quite strange, but that's Splash, he's very cute. Once he's had his little yawning and smiling routine, I'll put on his bridle. Today we were doing jumping, so that's why he has his Dutch gag on. And yeah, I'll do up his throat lash and all the keepers and his noseband and all the keepers. Obviously with the throat lash, make sure you can fit 4 fingers underneath it and the noseband 2 fingers underneath it, because that way you're ensuring that neither of them are too tight on the horse. And that is kind of my basic tack up with me routine. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I really appreciate all the support that you've given me. If you have any video suggestions that you want to see, feel free to leave them down below and I'll try my best to film them and upload them. I guess my new upload day is Thursday/Friday, depending on where in the world you are. So keep your eyes open for that. I'm quite proud of myself for sticking to it for quite a number of weeks now. If you want to keep up to date with me, I also post regularly on my Instagram, which I will link down below. I hope you guys are all staying safe and aren't too bored while in quarantine, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.